We're getting really personal today. I love videos where artists are showcasing their original characters and go into their lore while simultaneously drawing their original characters, and I love to see all the unique designs and fun stories that go behind them. And one video that I watched recently was done by Prickly Alpaca, where she decided to draw or redesign or showcase off her comfort OCs by also doing a detailed character sheet for them. And I even commented on that video and was saying, as someone who also has had original characters for 10 plus years and has never drawn a character sheet, you're not alone. And a lot of other people seem to agree with that. So anyway, I decided I wanted to delve in myself and draw some of my comfort OCs and do a little bit of a character sheet for them as well. Not as detailed as Prickly Alpaca's, but it was still a really fun exercise, and I had a really fun time doing this, so I hope you will enjoy going on this journey with me and going a little deep into my mind of just my characters. And also, please be kind to me in the comments because this is very personal. I'll share a little bit of like the journey of the original and not original things that I thought about for these characters and for their storyline, and whether or not I'm actually going to take these characters and put them into like a published piece. Who knows? But anyway, without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to first off show you guys my Pinterest board and inspiration that I've pinned over the years, not only for the looks of my characters, but also for some illustrations that I want to do down the line that are really cool and like graphic and moody. So my Pinterest board actually doesn't have as many pins as I thought, because I first was originally saving a lot of the like inspo for these characters, which I'm calling them like the Chaos Crew, which is not super original, but just because all of their names kind of evoke again, like Havoc and Bedlam, like those are like chaotic synonyms. Anyways, that's what I'm calling them. And I have like, I think it's like 53 pins, but I also was originally saving a lot of ideas and like different drawing prompts and inspiration on a different Pinterest board. So I have been starting to move all of the pins that I specifically saved for these characters into their own Pinterest board now. So, and then I also started organizing it a little bit with just the 3 different characters, and specifically in those boards, it's just kind of, I've saved pins that like either the look, like the hairstyle, or just like the silhouette of the person, as well as, again, look inspirations, inspiring looks and outfits for each of them. And then a lot of the rest of the main board is either, again, inspiration for other characters, as well as certain illustrations I saved to like take inspiration because of the lighting, the color scheme, the look, the drawing. Like I would love to draw my characters with that type of creating like a scene that looks similar to that like drawing for inspiration for like a cover or something, you know. So a lot of that is what my pins are currently for these characters. One of the great things about this entire process and exercise was that I really got to focus on and work on different faces, trying to fight against the same face syndrome, also working on profiles and full body drawings, all of that, because truly it kind of while working on this, it really did expose the practice that I need to work on side profiles. I used to avoid profile drawing altogether, so this definitely helped push me out of my comfort zone and then work on, again, the different face shapes and face structures for each of my 3 main characters. So I was really grateful for this process, and again, it was just a really good exercise, so I definitely was glad that I was working on this. And by no means do I feel like during this process that I have mastered the art of side profiling, but it really did help me. I do feel like I got some good practice in. But anyway, I first started with, again, the faces of each of the characters and just trying to really distinguish between their eye shape, their face shape, the hairstyles, everything. And I am really happy with all 3 front-facing profiles. I'm really glad that there is a difference between the 3 characters. So my first character that I work on, and I felt like was only appropriate because I think he's the most fleshed out in my brain, is, before saying his name, I actually should go back and give a little context for each of these characters. So I originally came up with these characters in 12th grade because I was in a creative writing class, and the prompt was actually to create, I think, a board game specifically, or like a premise for a board game. or I just chose to do a premise for a board game. I can't remember the actual prompt for the creative writing class, but I want to say it was for a board game. Anyway, and I came up with kind of this like murder mystery themed game, not like Clue, but trying to like fight the clock before a mass murderer. I don't know if he was a mass murderer. He was a criminal. And I remember coming up with the name Kenneth Havoc. And that also was greatly influenced because I loved in Full Metal Alchemist that a lot of the soldiers, the alchemists, the people who worked for the government, their last names were like Havoc, Fury, Armstrong, you know, all of those types of names I really clinged to and liked. And so just when I was thinking of this creative prompt, the name Havoc, I really wanted to use that as like a last name, and then just I thought Kenneth Havoc really flowed nicely. So that's where the original name for Kenneth came from. But after that general writing prompt, you know, I didn't really do anything with it. And then I really liked the name. And so I stuck with that. And I'm also just always have been, always will be, a huge fan of mystery and like murder mystery shows like NCIS, Castle, Sherlock Holmes, obviously. And so I knew I had at some point created my own like group of detectives and detective/policeman, that I created in my mind. And I just really, again, loved the name Kenneth Havoc. And so I was like, let's just stick with this trope of like ridiculous last names, names that have like last names that are like, I guess, negative connotations in the sense of the words. So each of my characters have a ridiculous last name. So Kenneth Havoc, again, is the first one. And as far as I know, like names and personalities and all these things are subject to change because these are just the characters that have been living in my mind for about 15 years, which is just also crazy. But yeah, so Kenneth Havoc is the first one. And he is, I would say, I don't want to go so far as to say shonen protagonist, but he is very like optimistic and super kind and a little bit naive. And he comes from like the Midwest because my current, again, all of this is subject to change as my story develops or whatever. But currently, it's the setting is in some sort of New York City, Manhattan kind of town where they are local detective / police force. And so Kenneth comes from like the Midwestern area and is moving to the big city. And of course he's like that, the country bumpkin, like naive kid in the city. He's I would say like, I think I'm solidifying the ages for right now with the character sheets, but he's between like 23 and 25. So I don't know what I'm going to decide yet. I'm going to say 23. He's 23 years old. He's coming again. He has his own reasons for coming to the city, not just to be like a police officer, detective type of character, but also he has like his reasons for coming to the city. He's looking for his mother. So he has like a little bit of a plot in that sense, not just to, move into the big city to move to the big city. But like I said, he's like super kind, almost innocent to a fault, and that will be, of course, a big thing that he is going to be very much plunged into the deep end of like the crime and the harshness of the city, all of those types of things. And then we have kind of the antithesis. There's lots of tropes and things that, of course, I harp on and love to have not only within like detective stories, but within storytelling in general. And of course I have like, your plucky sunshine character. And now we're going to have like our dark, moody moon character, which was going to be the second character that I work on, which is Gregory Bedlam. And I still think I like it. I'm saying it again, Gregory Bedlam. Again, just a ridiculous last name. I like the name Gregory as well. Funny enough, I think this was before Over the Garden Wall came out. I could be wrong. Maybe that's where I got Gregory from. I can't remember, to be perfectly honest. But Bedlam, I really liked the name, and I always thought, or the word, and I've always thought that it would be like a good last name. And again, just going along with the crazy last name. So Gregory Bedlam, he is like the Gibbs, the leader of the pack. He is the stoic. I also get like Nanami vibes from him, where he is like serious and quiet, like, for the majority of the times. Of course, when he is like angry or interrogating characters, all of those types of things, his seriousness, his voice, everything gets a little bit bigger, more encompassing, more he's very intimidating, all of those types of things. And another thing that was great about working on these character sheets is that I was able to, get the height for him and like show the difference between his height and the two other characters' heights. He's the biggest. We love a big, broad-shouldered man, and we love a man in a suit, and all of those things. I basically made Gregory Bedlam the fulfillment of those things. But just like any stoic, kind of darker characters, just like Gibbs, just like Nanami, like they, even though they are like edgy or maybe harsh on the outside, they're good people and very soft on the inside. I love that trope. I love that type of personality. So of course I wanted to do that with my detective characters, because who doesn't love a brooding, muscular man in suit, And again, these are my, don't roast me so much in the comments, please. These are my original characters. I'm being very personal here. And then my third character, of course, we had to have, and I'm realizing this now probably as my husband and I are re-watching, or for him watching fully. I've watched all of this series, but we're watching Castle. And I'm sure that my third character, Alicia Weiss, is somewhat influenced by Kate Beckett. She's plucky, she's got attitude, but she's also very serious and very, again, I don't think intimidating is the right word, but she can intimidate if she chooses to. She's serious. She is a good detective. She is everything that I love in like a female lead character, where she both embraces and utilizes her feminine side, but she's also just an awesome character. Again, going back to the character sheets, I really tried to differentiate each character's color palettes. Again, also their silhouettes and everything, where, Kenneth has a more warm tone, Bedlam has a more cool tone, and then Alicia is kind of a combination of the two. I think I have her skew more towards the cool tones with her, at least her main outfit, or what I've drawn so far for her, but that's because I want her to be complementary / synonymous with Bedlam, because they do have a romantic history, surprise, surprise, but they, again, with this kind of stories that I have in my brain, there's history behind them, but they're back together working again, not necessarily suppressing feelings for each other, or maybe, I don't know, it's just all of what I have is that they had a history in the past, and of course that creates a fun dynamic in the current story that's going on with now, not only them two back together, but also adding Kenneth into the mixture. And I do also have a lot of secondary characters and a lot of antagonists and other characters that would like show up again and again. And again, if you guys like this video or like me going into my OCs, maybe I will do like not necessarily character sheets for each of the other characters that I have in my brain, but at least like a drawing of them and a little explanation and lore into like their roles into their story. But yeah, I really wanted to just draw these main three and again go a little bit into the dynamics between the three. So I draw a full head rotation for each of the three characters, as well as like full body, at least one full body drawing with like what I would imagine is maybe one of their main outfits or an example of their main outfits. I feel like there could be a lot of color, like different color schemes for each, but I think again this is like trying to get their silhouette down, as well as again their looks and everything. And I'm even like doing again this entire character sheet. I've realized like how difficult it is to not just have differentiating like faces and looks, but to try to have the same face or to have the characters look the same in different viewpoints, different angles. I realized I was like, oh my gosh, this is harder than I was imagining. Even though I have drawn many a cringy comic in the past, like I know that those faces do not always look the same. So it's that balance of like, okay, everyone, these are their distinct features and faces, but to have them look the same at all different angles. It was a really good practice and really good exercise in trying to do that for my characters. I also drew a couple of additional outfits or outfit variants. So I had a couple of different looks for each of them, like either different jackets or just different outfits altogether, along with a formal outfit for each of them. So I thought that was a fun just exercise, as well as I drew in their palettes and also some, as I call it, pocket essentials. And the pocket essentials and like the general idea of the outfits, I guess the pocket essentials are the things that could probably most likely change, just because, as I said before, I have the general idea of some sort of Manhattan, New York City inspired area. I don't know if this is something I was like going back and forth of like how in the real world do I want these characters to be, or do I want to try to go and do like create my own world and own my own world basically. And I had gone down a deep rabbit hole, and I was like, yeah, like this is going to be like a combination of both like old technology mixed with like magic, and it would look really cool and like all of these things. And then I realized, I was like, Corinne, you are literally just creating Arcane again. In the terms of like the setting of my story. And I was like, okay, let's start over. I have played with the idea of these characters because I'm such a huge fantasy nerd. Like I have played with the idea of each of these characters having like powers, and I do like that route. I have specific powers for each of them that would also work really well as being detectives. And so I've been going back and forth on whether or not I do want to go the more fantasy route, which is also why like their outfits are a little bit more inspired in like the 1920s to 1940s. They're not like super like specifically with the boys wearing like suspenders and straps, and then again Alicia's outfits are a little bit more somewhat influenced by the 40s, but again I also did give them a little bit more modern outfits as well, just because I was like, I don't know where this is going necessarily. I just need to choose a lane and stick to it. And so I definitely think it would be a more modern setting, but maybe with powers, maybe with magic, but I don't know like how advanced in technology they are, especially if we're doing magic. But again, I'm trying to stick away from like Arcane knockoff, you know. So that's where I am in my brain space. But the main storyline and everything, it is still, I have the same storyline and characters and things. It would just be like changing their outfits. And again, if people have powers, that would also influence them a little bit. But yeah, I still have like the main storyline in my brain. But each of the characters' pocket essentials would at least have their badge as well as a cell phone or a way of communication. So I drew most of the cell phones in like an older like 90s, early 2000s look, especially just because we've been watching Castle, and I'm still not 100% sure how modern day I want this to be in the setting to be. So who knows in that kind of sense. Like it could be modern day, but like the technology has not advanced as much, especially again if we have magic. But Alicia, the differences in their pocket essentials, everyone has a badge and then a way of communication. And then Alicia has, of course, pepper spray. Bedlam has some eye drops, because I also picture him very much always tired looking man. And that's just through stress and seriousness. And I just think that's a funny thing as well. And for Kenneth, I have him having a container of a little packet of tissues for either for victims or for himself, because I think he is, again, a soft-hearted sweetheart. Overall, I am very glad that I did this exercise and made these character sheets for these characters, because they are some of my original characters that live rent-free in my head, that I go back to and just mull over and think about and create stories. And I really do love these three so much. And again, it just also get to play in the worlds that I love so much, of like murder mysteries, and also that kind of family kinship that is created between most like of the characters in those detective shows and all that. So really did enjoy working on this and creating all the variant outfits, and again just working on and really like solidifying how these characters look. And I think they pretty much match how I picture them in my brain. So I'm very pleased with the outcome. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this type of, we're not super deep dive into the lore necessarily, but like just a little bit of sneak peek of what goes on in my brain and the characters and stories that I really love. And if you want to hear more, please let me know down below. I would love to draw more of the secondary characters and the villains, antagonists, and that would also help me to just solidify, I think, the story a little bit more, because I think these are also the characters that I'm like, would I make a story out of this, like a published story, like a webtoon or something? But yeah, anyway, I had so much fun. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. And again, thanks so much for watching, especially if you got to the end, and I'll see you next time. Bye.